Hi everyone, my name is Simone Stephen and I'm presenting the implications of cyberbiosecurity in advanced agricultural systems. I worked alongside KTV's Alexander, Dr. Xavier Lewis Palmer, and Dr. Lucas Potter. So first, I'd like to discuss some past and emerging innovators in the bioeconomy, starting with George Washington Carver, who was a revered scientist and pioneer in agricultural research. He transformed agriculture through the development of crop rotation methods to rejuvenate soil stripped of nitrogen by cotton. This method alternated the cotton with nitrogen-rich legumes like peanuts, which increased the soil's productive capacity and diversified the food supply as a result, and this was known as regenerative agriculture. Beyond this, he promoted using compost for the reintroduction of nutrients to soil, which drastically increased its productivity compared to earlier methods and, of course, is now an essential practice used within organic farming and gardening today. And he was also the first to revive organic farming in the United States after it began as an African indigenous system. Henry Blair was an inventor who became the second black person in history to receive a U.S. patent in 1834. He invented a mechanical corn seed planter, which allegedly saved the labor of 8 men, according to an article from Mechanics magazine. He designed a mechanical cotton seed planter as well, which became his second patented creation, and these inventions dramatically improved the efficiency of corn and cotton agriculture, which pioneered later developments in advanced agriculture. We also have Minnie McNeil Kinney, who was an expert in the fields of language, cryptanalysis, and traffic analysis. She began as a communications clerk at the NSA in 1952 as one of the few black people within that role. She served as the deputy commandant of the National Cryptologic School, and during her 43-year career, she received NSA's two highest awards, being the Meritorious Civilian Service Award and the Exceptional Civilian Service Award. And these awards reflected her work to further the cause of minorities at NSA through the changes she effected in the structure, the policy, and the practices. Now I'd like to discuss the innovators that are currently pioneering ways to protect and build upon this legacy of innovation and perseverance. First, we have Samson Adeoye, who is currently a graduate research assistant at Virginia Tech and one of the very few black pioneers of cyberbiosecurity. He has provided analysis on agricultural child labor, explored financing smallholder farms and national irrigation development, and of course authored many works on cyberbiosecurity education and workforce development with significant input on agricultural cybersecurity. Through these contributions, he has highlighted cybersecurity evaluation through providing learning-based methods for engaging people with cyber technology and processes while also focusing on revolutionizing robust defenses against emerging technologies. Next, we have Dr. Xavier Lewis Palmer, who is also a force of nature within the world of cyberbiosecurity. With his extensive knowledge and background in biomedical engineering, biotechnology, and cybersecurity, him and Dr. Lucas Potter have both paved the way for cyberbiosecurity awareness. They've done this by authoring broadly across cybersecurity journals and conferences and proceedings, as well as producing more than 30 published works in the context of cyberbiosecurity. They've also published workshops and talks through conferences and events over the past 5 years. So what is cyberbiosecurity? As you can see by this visualization on the right, it is a very new discipline described as an amalgamation of cybersecurity, biosecurity, and cyberphysical security. Biosecurity, I believe, is not discussed enough. It's one of the three components of biorisk management, basically ensuring the safe use of biological materials in laboratories, and it also focuses on protecting biological agents from theft, loss, or misuse. Beyond that, of course, we have cybersecurity, which we know is the practice of deploying people, processes, policies, and technologies to protect organizations, their critical systems, and sensitive information from digital attacks. From then on, we also have cyber-physical security, which addresses security concerns for physical systems used to maintain and implement cybersecurity solutions. This can involve the Internet of Things, the industrial Internet of Things, operational technology, and industrial control systems. And these technologies play an increasingly important role in our day-to-day lives. So the field basically encompasses advancing and implementing the protection of life in medical sciences, cyber-physical, logistics, network, and infrastructure systems. In this way, it focuses on what we can do to detect, mitigate, counter, and recognize possible attacks. So why is cyberbiosecurity important? Why do we care about it, or why should we care about it? So, as I mentioned before, cyberbiosecurity is this huge converged discipline of different fields, and it impacts a multitude of things. This can be public health, advanced manufacturing platforms, biological databases, agriculture, and water systems. And as the cyber revolution is rapidly shaping our world and the agricultural field is implementing all of these new technologies, including the internet, into its environment, this integration has become a source of possible danger. So, with the emergence of multiple threats in cyberspace, cybersecurity has become critically important within the agricultural field. These threats come in the form of malicious attacks, unwanted intrusions, and sabotage. Applications can consist of protecting intellectual property, data integrity, availability, essential systems operation, and overall quality of end products. Some other functions include restricting access to valuable resources and data, remaining in accordance with standards, regulations, and other documents, as well as the prevention of financial or reputational damage. So attacks on these systems could disturb the food supply chain already made fragile by the challenges presented by COVID-19. Further, assaults on the agricultural field could ultimately result in significant damage to the bioeconomy and communities. This is especially important because the bioeconomy is recognized as an essential component of national security and most likely a key component of the future economy. It involves addressing huge issues that we're facing right now, like food security, climate change, environmental sustainability, and energy independence. Cyber biosecurity and advanced agriculture. So now that we've discussed it in terms of agriculture and why it's important, we can discuss the topic of advanced agriculture, which is another very important area cyber biosecurity applies to. So advanced agriculture is technology-enabled development of data-driven agricultural systems, and this can involve food production, food processes, animal feed, bioenergy, and other bio-based products. And this is research with the goal of maximizing the efficiency, productivity, availability, and sustainability of farming methods, meaning that advanced agriculture focuses on creating better means of producing produce through finding ways to make the crops yield more vegetables, use less harmful pesticides, and create better energy sources. However, despite these systems having such a large effect on the global food supply chain and the bioeconomy, they are remarkably ill-equipped for cyber attacks. As of 2021, at least 80% of the agricultural and food operation in the United States is generated by small family farms, ranches, and food producers. And these sectors receive practically no consideration regarding the security of cyber or IT infrastructure. And many of these producers can be uneducated in terms of cybersecurity, and in some cases don't even properly apply it to their systems because they don't really consider the possibility of someone attempting to launch a cyber attack on a farm, despite it posing a very large risk to both the farm and its consumers. Possible vulnerabilities. The agricultural field develops technological mechanisms and devices that they continuously integrate into their systems. This can include things like sensor nodes that they use to attain environmental and livestock data, unmanned vehicles and other robotics that they use for automation of routine field tasks, and the integration of IoT platforms for the use of controlling, interacting, and monitoring of a system of connected devices, which I'll get more into in the next slide. But these are wonderful advancements that make things much easier on our farmers and faster, but also come at cost. So many of these devices do not include an integrated security mechanism to examine their usage status or memory access. And this is dangerous because these are essential in securely storing cryptographic keys, which present large risks to systems. Some risks to hardware can include Trojans, and an example of this causing an issue in agricultural context would be a Stuxnet-like malware causing the overwatering of crops within a farming system. Illegal cloning, and a possible instance of this would be an attacker administering a cloned fertilizer spreader with irregular distribution with the intention to cause under or over fertilization of the crops, and side channel attacks in which can take the form of exploiting timing, power consumption, electromagnetic emissions, and thermal signatures, which deliver valuable data capable of revealing the encryption standard as well as the keys to crack the encryption. Some risks to software can include worms, viruses, ransomware, spyware, and bot executables that can be injected to affect nodes and devices. And it can also involve attacks on applications such as software update attacks, buffer overflow attacks, and SQL injection. An example of SQL injection within an agricultural setting would be an attacker using SQL injection to penetrate and exploit a logistics system into transporting crops to different areas than intended, or to steal private data from storage systems. And all of these have massive potential to cause damage to the computer systems within this critical infrastructure. So to give a better idea of how these vulnerabilities actually apply, I've included a graphic of a modern farm that implements aspects of advanced agriculture. So here on the left, labeled A, we see an electrical power grid, and cyber attacks on these power grids could of course seize all farm operations that require electricity, which are many in this specific context, as we'll come to see. Labeled B, we have an agricultural drone, and these are used for things like spraying fertilizer, monitoring crops, soil, livestock, and land inspection and imaging and things of that sort. So attacks on these drones could result in the deterioration of soil quality, which then of course increases the difficulty of producing and maintaining a large quantity of agricultural goods. Here over on the far right, labeled C, we see a storage silo, and an attacker could target the agricultural sensors and climate controls of these silos for the means of sabotage. Labeled D, we have a water distribution system, which could be targeted for over or underwatering, like I had mentioned previously. Here at E, in the middle, we see an agricultural sensor, which is used for tracking information regarding sunlight received, humidity, the climate of the environment, soil air penetration, and other farming activity on soil. And this could be targeted for a multitude of reasons. And then finally at F, we see a tractor. And tools and equipment like this could be attacked and made to malfunction in a variety of ways, making farming even more difficult and slower or less effective. And now on to possible threats. So digital adversaries can target machinery and software to gain access to information, databases, and intellectual property. Some risks that are attributed with precision agriculture and smart technologies can involve things like false sensor data, data and machinery access control, and data encryption. These technologies have the potential to be exploited by hackers who disrupt the farms using them and the downstream users relying on the supply chain. Exploiting these security vulnerabilities can be super beneficial to numerous parties holding a stake in the bioeconomy. And this can be from local to national, like brands, governments, cybercriminal organizations, and industries who view categories as and subcategories of agriculture as a threat to their own. Beyond that, vegetation, seeds, irrigation, cattle, foods, fuels, and other resources are seen as valuables to threats. And competitors will use the data gained through these cyber attacks to exploit these vulnerable farms more and develop larger scale attacks to farms with more advanced cyber defenses. In a wartime scenario, this could be a route by which countries asymmetrically compete with their enemies. So what could these implications mean for the development and safety of advanced agriculture? So an agriculture industry that does not address the current and future threats is likely to face very harsh consequences from adversaries that have prepared threats. So as I mentioned previously, using automation and remote controls for maintaining farms can be used to sabotage produce and damage future sources of energy. New technology like genetically engineered vegetation could face threats from those who seek to steal and ruin production through hardware or software attacks. And advanced genetic engineering technologies can be used as a weapon to steal resources from farms. As an example of this, a DNA stealing parasite, which is an advanced genetically augmented agriculture technology, presents threats to the confidentiality of these farms. Ultimately, without the proper defenses and security, advanced agricultural systems are at the risk of facing disaster, which would then impact the population which relies on it. The future of advanced agricultural aspects. So as you can see in this visualization, the world population prospects project that the population is set to reach 9.7 billion by 2050. And what this does is it creates a need for at least a 70% increase in calories that are available for consumers. Further than that, the United Nations stated that the water supply will be 40% under the global water demand by 2030. What these projections suggest is the need for even further technological integration to resolve these issues. So this is especially relevant with the rise of environmental pressures and the urge for sustainable agriculture. It can take the form of further implementation of smart devices, plant propagation and cultivation technologies, and effective data analysis. So these technologies can also consist of more advanced tools like sentinel satellites and drones, which provide photos for mapping of spatial variability, which can be used to measure crop harvest, humidity levels, topography, and resources in the area. And these innovations can lead in ultimately increasing development, diminishing waste, and improving profit margin within the advanced agricultural field as a whole. It has been predicted that the average farm in 2050 will generate about 4.1 million data points per day, which is a 190,000 point increase from the year 2014. This could just be the beginning of increased utilization of technology. So the integration of technology in agricultural systems will increase significantly in the future, making cyber biosecurity absolutely critical for the agricultural supply chain success and security. It is better to enhance security measures to prevent cybersecurity attacks than reacting to them. And these are my references. This is part 2 of my references. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, being me, Katavius, Xavier, and Lucas. And thank you so much for listening.